Jason and Lucia are undoubtedly going to take over the entire world in 2025. However, we still know barely anything about either of them. All we know is that Lucia at some point goes to prison and that they're both a couple. However, that's literally it. We know nothing about their stories, where they come from. We don't even know their second names. So I thought it would be fun to go over some theories that I've put together about Jason and talk about some potential areas that his character could go. Now, please forgive me, it's been over a year since the trailer came out.
You tell me exactly what you want, and I will very carefully explain to you why it cannot be. What?
And I'm kind of struggling for ideas, I'll be real with you. But I think that these ideas are pretty good, so please watch to the end because some of these are very, very interesting. Let's begin. Okay, so the first theory that I have is that Jason is actually some kind of ex-soldier. Why may I think this? Well, wouldn't you like to know? But no, it's because in the artwork he's wearing green cargo pants, which is actually a reason why many people think that he's some kind of cop. However, I associate the color green more with the military instead of the police force. And it's not just the cargo pants. Jason is wearing some like dog tags around his neck. He also kind of just gives me soldier vibes. Like, just look at him. He looks very rough, looks very coarse. He looks like somebody who you could imagine being in the middle of a war. Now, if this is the case, this makes me think what kind of implications this could have on the story. Maybe Jason uses the contacts that he met in the military to get into the drug trade, or maybe he uses it as some way to justify him doing crimes. It also gives him the necessary experience to be a Rockstar protagonist. Remember, they have to have some sort of background with guns, crime, in order for it to be believable that he's like committing these big crimes and can even shoot a gun. So yeah, I think Jason being an ex-military officer or some kind of soldier would be a very interesting way for them to include him in the story, because that means that he has experience with guns and shooting things, but not necessarily crime, which could lead him down a dark path. I think there's just many ways that they can go with that they couldn't do if Jason was just some regular guy or had no experience in those areas. Theory number 2. Jason is already a drug dealer. A very different background to somebody who was in the military. But I think that if Jason was already a drug dealer prior to the story, that could also be quite interesting. Being a drug dealer certainly isn't on the same level as somebody who's committing these insane bank heists and robbing the Union Depository and all these other things. If Jason was just like a low-level street thug who deals some drugs but isn't some major player in the crime business, I could see that being quite interesting, because then Lucia could come along and persuade him to do these big heists and he could be wary about it. I just think it's a very interesting direction for Rockstar to take a protagonist. But why a drug dealer, you may be asking? Well, as we know, the game takes place in Florida, or Leonida, and in that part of the world it's very drug influenced because you have the cartels coming from Cuba. You know, Miami is like a drug hotspot. So having Jason be the connect to that side of the game could be quite interesting, because I think Lucia is going to be quite a eccentric character who focuses more on the heists and the parties. It'd be quite cool to have Jason, who's just this drug dealer who kind of has these connections in the lower criminal underworld, that could bring the game down to a more grounded level when everything's kicking off and they're doing all these crazy bank heists. You still have that like underlying sense that Jason is quite this grounded, realistic character. Theory number 3. Jason is going to die at the end of the game. Now, this is quite a bold theory. However, when you look at Rockstar's past titles, it really does make sense. As we all know, Rockstar are no stranger to a little bit of betrayal in their games. Quite literally every single game of theirs includes betrayal in some way, shape or form. So, this theory proposes that at the end of the game, Lucia is going to betray Jason, probably for her own personal gain. Now, I personally don't think that this is going to happen. I think that they will be ride or die from start to finish, and I think that Rockstar want to put their own spin on a Bonnie and Clyde ride or die from start to finish type of story. And I think that ending the game with some form of betrayal, whether it's Lucia betraying Jason or Jason betraying Lucia, really wouldn't fit this and would really play against the game's whole message. And I also just think it's very predictable. Like, every single Rockstar game up to this point has had betrayal in it in some way. So if this game was to end with yet another betrayal, where Lucia betrays Jason, I just don't like that. I think that would be predictable, I think it would be stupid, and I want them to be ride or die from start to finish. Theory number 4. Jason is actually a cop. Now, I touched on this one a little bit earlier with the whole military theory. However, I just really cannot see this one being the case. You have to remember that police officers who are undercover aren't allowed to go around shooting random people, which is obviously a main focus in the GTA games. Even though it's just a game, I can't see Rockstar willingly going this unrealistic for a protagonist. Up until now, every single one of their protagonists has been grounded in some way, shape or form. Yes, there's been really eccentric characters like Trevor, but at the end of the day, they're still real people with real consequences to their actions. If Jason was to be a police officer, I think that would cross the line of being believable and would ultimately just make it feel a bit cheap, predictable, and I'm just not a fan of this theory. The only way that I can see this one working is if Jason is actually an ex-cop instead of a current one. Because that would work the same way as the military one, where he has some experience, maybe met some contacts while working for law enforcement. I'm still not a fan of this, and I think that Jason's character should go in a whole different direction. Theory number 5. Jason goes to prison just like Lucia. This theory comes from the fact that in the artwork, Jason is wearing these sandals. And these sandals are actually the same ones that Florida gives to their inmates at different correctional facilities. They're like the default shoe that prisoners are given in order to, have shoes. So yeah, it's possible that Rockstar included this in the artwork to give us a hint that this is where Jason comes from. Maybe this is how he meets Lucia. I don't know, maybe this theory is a little bit far-fetched, but I think it's worth noting because it feels like such a Rockstar thing to do, to put this little hint in the artwork to tell us where he's coming from without actually telling us where he comes from. We all know that GTA 6 is going to be the most ambitious Rockstar title ever created, and as a result I think this really leaves room for Jason and Lucia to shine and to become the best Rockstar protagonists ever made. Now I know, that's a very bold claim, especially when you have the greats like Arthur Morgan, John Marston, Nico Bellic. However, with the scope of GTA 6, I really think there's just so many different directions that they can take both Jason and Lucia that just gives them the potential to become these insanely deep characters with so many different new stories, ideas, which is just really, really exciting, and I cannot wait to see what Rockstar does with them. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope I haven't rambled on too much. I'm still getting used to this whole narration thing. I've never really done anything like this before, so forgive me if it's a bit rambly. Thank you so much for watching. It means a lot to me that so many people watched that first video. I actually re-uploaded it to this channel because originally it was on a new channel, and I didn't expect so many people to show so much care and affection for that video, so thank you truly. Remember to subscribe because I'm going to be uploading a lot more GTA 6 content over the next months up until launch, and it's just really exciting. It's a very exciting time for us all. Hopefully trailer 2 comes soon because I'm really struggling. It's been over a year without any new content, and it's hard because this game is just so exciting and Rockstar just aren't showing us anything, which, don't get me wrong, I understand. The way that they do it is like no other company. They stay silent until they don't have to anymore because they don't have to show us anything. They're Rockstar Games. They could post one screenshot and the entire internet would talk about it for months. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Remember to subscribe. Go and follow my Twitter too because I'm very, very active over there. And it would just mean the world to me. So thank you very much for watching. Have a great day, everyone. Goodbye.